Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 3rd of October 2024, and this will be my last broadcast in this type of format, particularly on the book. Me and the book have had quite an interesting relationship over the last 4 years, and I suppose it's time to wrap that type of stuff up. I'll speak about myself for a moment and then we'll get into it. Um, I have been a busy boy. I generally am a busy man, wrapping up a whole range of different projects and themes and endings of cycles and beginnings of new ones and all the rest of it. And at the top of the priority list, it has been to protect my center at all cost and also protect my peace. And by doing so, I wouldn't say taking a step back, but utilizing the social media because it is the town square, so to speak, of what's actually really going on. And I have done my utmost over the last 4 years to make it really about um, helping you understand the real game that is going on. I know it was never really going to be popular, particularly when you're speaking about things before they become truth or trends, um, and the parasite bots, and let's just call them what they are, fuckwits who want to play fuck around. I just haven't been in the space to play find out. But since I have some free time on my schedule, look the fuck right out. I'm just in the mood for that type of stuff as well because I see myself as a kind man. And yeah, I will kindly teach you a lesson if you want to play that game or not. So, buyer beware. And if you want some entertainment, well, you're probably going to find me better over there on Twitter and on Instagram because the foolishness that goes on the book is, yeah, we're going to get into that tonight, folks. Not from a aggravated sense, but more so for you guys to really be aware. Um, Now let's get into it, shall we? I want to speak about the it'd be easy to say white hat, but it has other names to it, okay? There's been an operation in place, and let's say it started with the Q stuff, yeah? Now, there's a lot of people that have made their minds up about that whole thing that have never really understood it, never really followed it, have no degree or background in absolutely anything except their own exaggerated stupidity that regurgitate things. But that psychological operation that we could go quote unquote has been relatively good, so to speak, has been about front loading information and front loading, let's say, discussion points. And one of the big ones has been to create, let's say, citizen journalism, where I would be assuming that quite a lot of you that are watching this have at least digested some content, whether it's from me or someone else or someone else that has brought a different perspective or new information to the surface about that. So you can thank that type of operation bringing forward. And where did it really begin? Well, it began with the Assange type of stuff, the emails that came out. But then the Q side of things took it a bit further with Pizzagate and those components. But when it got into some of the Podesta emails and pizza and all of their code words, well, that kind of happened back in 2015, 2016, 2017. But it wasn't until when COVID really popped off that all of that really went on steroids. Yeah. Like there was something else going on, that whether it was coordinated or whatnot, I don't know, but it looks like that. So a lot more people now understand that the reality that we're seeing through this blue light technology um, isn't essentially what we see. But even the mechanics of our programs, beliefs, and perceptions upon how we perceive reality, whether that be through justice or any of the social contracts, we know that it is a just us system. Yeah. Just us. And you and I aren't a part of the us. Yeah. We're a part of the we. Okay. So think about it as we and us go on together at it. And we're at this, we have been for a while at this particular phase. And I've made mention to it in the past with utilizing language as knowledge is light. I spoke about it in the last podcast as well, but I suppose the psychological fallout phase is at such an intensification at the moment. And I made reference to this a good 6-12 months ago that it's going to be extremely difficult for quite a lot of people who have, let's say gained a lot of attention, which is fine. I'm a live and let live guy. But how are they going to step back or correct upon the information that they've presented that has elements of truth? They're not aware of the misinformation in the truth. They're not even aware that some of the information and sources that they've actually gone and got that information for has been a part of other psychological operations that is I can't even get the word out. Starts with a D, but anyways, a dissemination kind of program to map out content, control it, and actually put people around out there that are able to safeguard and gatekeep that information. And a lot of people aren't even really aware that through this type of technology, and as Uncle Jack's Chili suggested the other day on Danny Jones's podcast, we're at like MK Ultra 5, MK Ultra 6. And a lot of people don't know. And I've been hinting at it for 4 fucking years. I've been telling you. And how do I know? Because I've read all the things. I've had conversations with some people that have been involved with things. I put it out there and no one wants to talk about that. Right. But they'll keep on pushing out it's mind control, this. It's even like, oh, transhumanism, but they can't get into the actual detail about it. So it becomes a generalization and things get added to it that populates a whole bunch of nonsense. But where I'm getting to with that is that everyone's been front loaded with a whole heap of stuff. Yeah. And with those now that are at, let's say, the pointy end, and, I know this because it was explained to me, and you can kind of see it that within, let's say, disclosure, and a lot of the information that a lot of people want to hear isn't going to come from any government type of thing, or let's say the way that whistleblowers have generally come out. Like, it just doesn't work, does it? Never has, never will. And there's been another game that's being played there. But what's so important about Uncle Jack's chili that he just fucking, oh, mate, I'll eat that shit up all day, really. Like a bit of hot spice. You've got somebody who's just gone boom, dropped a nuclear fucking thermonuclear bomb, that he's been a part of certain things. He's been a connective piece of a whole range of different components that's able to come out. And now he's decided to tell the story and connect actually how big it is. And if you pay attention inside that podcast, he's telling you exactly, even back in the Eisenhower thing, of where this, let's say, the beginnings of SES and this deep state apparatus through the military industrial complex really began. And I suppose you're going to have more and more folks begin to come out. One that I'm keeping a very close eye on is Sean Ryan. Very impressive man. Some of the guests that he's had on his podcast over the last 12 months are absolutely brilliant. but I don't see any of the truther trenders out there even talking about some of that stuff, even sharing any of that stuff, or even wanting to have conversations about some of that stuff. And these are people who have been involved in serious things. Yeah. So as much as there's the truth for trending narrative, well, you're going to have to make a choice very quickly, aren't you? Are you going to be able to be present as new information presents itself with people who have actually been involved, whether it's they've had their coming to Jesus moment or they've actually understood and had conversation with others of what's actually really going on, and pay attention to how that is actually coming out and how that is actually formulating how you go about it. Because I'm going to say this right now, and I'm actually pretty disappointed with quite a lot of folks, because they've bought into their own grift, which is fine, but are they preparing you, or are they running a grift now? Yeah, because it's very easy to just utilize new spiritual language of, oh, it's all shadow and it's all projections, when anybody actually goes, nah, actually you might be wrong, or add a little bit. They're caught up in their, protecting their own personal narrative. And if they're all about the truth, well, when it comes to the truth, you sometimes are going to have to bite into people calling you out on your own bullshit. That's the way that it is. But there seems to be this I don't even want to call it spiritual bypass, but for me personally, I think it is a part of this psychological fallout and this weaponization within the blue screen type of technology. I'm not wearing the glasses because of it. Just so that you guys know, I generally have a red screen filter, particularly on my PC, because I use it a lot. Not so much on the phone. Maybe I can get my hand on Jack's one, because the one on the phone actually doesn't work. But anyways, let's get into some of the world events at the moment. Yeah, because as much as I've just had a little bit of a rant, there's my heart and prayers go out to those that have been impacted by the hurricane. Um, I have experience with that type of disaster. But one thing, and we got to see it here in Australia, is that when the chips get down, you see good people do amazing feats. And unfortunately, it takes certain crises for the cream to rise to the top. And we're going to be going through that. It's not going to stop for a while. But yeah, my hearts and prayers go out to all of those people. And what is a little bit of salt to the wound, isn't it? But it's not known, where you've essentially got a government that isn't going to support and do its thing. But this whole situation going over there in the States, with more of this these social contracts now being known to everybody, that they have been broken. They've been broken for a long period of time. But coming to terms with them is a whole other story. And I suppose I would be speaking more from a belief perspective with this. There are some commentators out there that have connections that are pretty close to certain things. They've said that we're over the threshold, or particularly in the States, is they're over the threshold of people that have enough information and know what's going on for the US not to go into a civil war, which was a huge component of, let's say, their plan, which isn't going to happen. But is there going to be massive civil unrest? There is. And if you are a sensitive or a woo person, get the firewood from your local area. I've told you to do this a few times. When it's time to sit in resonance, light your fire and sit there, whether it's beat a drum or even just light a fire and have a fucking beer. And because there's some serious shit that has been going on for a long period of time, and it's really about to escalate into many different components, particularly with just rolling event after rolling event. And to those that are the law of attraction people, are you going to do a step back, or are you going to keep grifting with your same bullshit? You know it. I know it. And everybody else is about to know it. So are you going to change your tune at the last moment, or are you going to keep on running your fucking grift? That's all I have to say about those types of people. Because it's the forked tongue type of stuff. They've become the very people that they say that they are against. And such is the checkerboard game at this time. Very difficult to remain in your center and be able to speak with integrity, without the Babylonian talisman creeping its way in and distorting your perceptions of reality. How much of that does it chink away? And, there's a big game with that. But world events, where to begin? I wrote a lot down, but I think I'll just go off the cup because I'm in a good flow, and I haven't done one of these types of lives in a while with a little bit of fire and brimstone and kaboom. So, all right, let's go over to the Middle East. Is elements of Revelations going to play out? Yes. You need to understand the Levant. Like, I've tried to put it out there, and the same truth for trending stuff just gets pushed out. But anyways, let's get into it. Lebanon used to be an ancient land of the Canaanites. Canaanites turned into the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians turned into the Venetians. The Venetians turned into the black nobility. But also there was another kind of clan that moved out of Phoenicia and went further north into Ukraine. You can almost say Khazaria. So you have at the moment these wars that are looking like one thing, but there's something else going on there. You can say whether it's ethereal, whether it's woo. I know a lot of people just like to throw it in it's humans versus reptilians. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But anyways, it's a good little game to play from an archetypal and story kind of perspective. And there is a lot of programming intention involved with all of that, pertaining to, let's say, the Holy Lands, the Abrahamic religions. The list goes on and on. And I actually may bring this up for you because what some people don't actually understand about me is that when I kind of speak, I like to know what the fuck I'm actually speaking about. Not just really shooting from the hip. My Bible's here. I like to read Psalms and Proverbs, King David and Solomon, the rest of it, meh. And even then, like with Danny Jones, if you go have a listen to Gnostic Informant, getting into the Greek stuff, that's very fascinating. It's very easy just to discredit the Bible, but maybe some folks need to go do some homeworks before they flap their gums. But back into it. So I'm going to bring this up. It actually is a Bible quote. You can school me later, but this here, okay? This is a King James version of it. I know thy works and tribulations and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Pretty simple. Haven't heard too many speak about that, particularly when they profess to know everything about the book. The reason why I bring this up, I have Israeli friends, I have Jew friends, and all the rest of it. This isn't about that, but There's a much bigger game going on, and the social tension, particularly around religion and all the rest of it, is fucking massive. Now, something pretty big took place is that, and I'm not trying to be a smartass here, but I just want to play a game with you. What's that, Jade? That's a pretty bold statement, mate. Oh, if you tell me what bold statement, I'm happy to do so. Just to clarify that, I don't want any misconceptions getting on. But when people hear a ballistic missile, do you know what that is? So with a ballistic missile, it has a ballistic trajectory. Yeah. Like it goes up and goes down. So with so-called the Iron Dome side of thing, Iran, which is definitely being assisted by Russia and some of their technology, they popped off a whole heap of ballistic missiles, but they shot through subsonic missiles. And oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I can only see certain comments. So if someone wants to jabber on, I'll deal with them. As what I said very earlier, I'm cleaned up with projects and I'm just in the mood to play a little bit of fuck around and find out. So hold my beer. But anyways, so yeah, they sent them in and there wasn't, so far there hasn't really been any real massive civilian casualties, but a certain airstrip was taken out that had let's say F-35s, because I don't want to give the number because the number has changed a bit. They also attacked the Mossad headquarters and a couple of other installations. What I found fascinating was some of the language that was used, particularly on Twitter, even on the book. We've sucked in, they didn't kill anyone. Really? That's where the head's at. That's where the programming's at. They're not actually wanting to kill people. The same as within Ukraine. If you are a student of war, which I like to think that I am, it's different. It's not like fucking wars that we've seen before. That there is definitely something else going on with taking certain things out. And what happens next is going to be rather fascinating. Okay. And I spoke to someone who's a serious individual today about it, and he verified it to me. And it's like, it's at a point right now that in not just Israel, but with that happening, is that those subsonic missiles, the ones that they shot, went through and had 100% accuracy, and none of them got shot down. And even the Patriot missile system and everything that the US had in that area could not stop them at all. This is also known in Ukraine. NATO haven't got anything that can stop these things. Now, what these subsonics do is that they don't follow a ballistic trajectory. Yeah, they follow a different trajectory, and the speed that they're at, there's nothing really out there to stop that type of stuff until you get into some of the classified tech, so to speak. When Israel attacks, and they will, does the Russian system, is it able to shoot down whatever Israel attacks? And if it does, the projected power, military power of the US is essentially over from outside continental US. Now, I'm giving you this just to watch, to see these types of things and to get a perspective upon the bigger game that is actually going on. Okay, the game of empire is actually crumbling. It is falling apart. This is a part of, we can say from a Wu perspective, the splitting of worlds, the psychological fallout, the rolling events, yada, yada, yada. But who are those that are actually in control? And I 100% agree with what Cliff has been speaking about, and Jay Widener. I'm going to toot my own horn because I spoke about this almost 2 years ago. More clarification on was a year and a half ago is that the script that has been running, it's completely in shambles. We'd crossed the Rubicon, and if YouTube didn't delete the video, I probably would have used it as a reference. But anywho, so here we are with that, and the same as with, let's say, the Ukraine, is what are Russia going to do? Now, we've heard that there would be some type of, let's say, event, or I've spoken about it, what's the Berlin Wall moment, that actually signifies that there, because once that happens, the shit show in the US will begin, also here in Oz. And I've spoken about being positioned accordingly. And the reason why I say it, because we're in kind of a no man's land territory right now. Yeah. And there's a lot of things to consider, because this isn't just, oh, yeah, this is going to happen and that's that. No, it's a massive thing and about choice points. And if you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend that you go and check out Uncle Jack's, well, Dr. Jack Cruz's chat with Danny Jones, and really have a listen to it. It's 4 hours. You're probably going to listen to it 2 or 3 times, because he's speaking about decentralized medicine and quantum biology. And like, I spent 6 hours yesterday going through his forum and his website. Wow. That's the medicine that you and I need. But guess what that medicine that you and I need is about? It's about taking on that knowledge from somebody like that, who has just given it freely, 20, 30 years of his work, working in serious things and laying it out to you, but also giving you remedies to the actual deep programming and some of the other stuff that has really gone on. Okay. He's not a nobody. Yeah? He's a fucking brain surgeon. So this is what I'm saying. It's going to be very difficult to weed through the shit of what people are putting out there. And do they know what they speak about? Because for me, I'm seeing we have an opportunity as an individual, and it's choice points. Do we go into an open source type of environment? I believe so, particularly with some of the tech, which has been essentially some of the projects and that I've been working on, and putting things out, because I haven't done what I've done over the last 12, 13 years now to get to this stage of the game, and to be worrying about twiddling thumbs and all the rest of it. I've prepared myself for this time, and the last 4 years I feel as if I've done a decent job with trying to drop breadcrumbs. I know some people have been pissed at me with going, Grant, you speak in riddles and you speak in rhymes. And it's like, well, that should show you that I have some type of form of intelligence. And there is something about speaking in riddles and rhymes. You can go and look this up on Google's, folks. If you play around with riddles and rhymes, or even chess and stuff like that, it elevates your IQ, and it's going to help you with deprogramming the nonsense that you're utilizing with this. So have I played a little bit of a Jedi mind trick with folks? Yes, I have. Has it almost been a psychological operation that everyone's saying? You can almost say it has. Why have I done that? Well, the only way to get through the programming that we are all subjected to, through programs, beliefs, and perceptions that we've all taken on without ourselves even knowing, and having our dopamine fucked over, is by front loading certain things and utilizing almost cryptic language to get you to think outside of the habitual patterns that the brain state is locked in with its neuroplasticity also. So all the other legends out there that have been playing in this game and helping people with that, you have my respect. But here we are at this time, because for me personally, and those in Portal know this. I've spoken about it a lot, and I don't want to sound too disingenuous, because there are people that are really suffering, like with what happened in Lebanon. Um, this is what I mean by the perception. On the media, it's portrayed as one thing, but what's not being spoken about is almost the 2.5 million refugees that are at the fucking border of Syria and Jordan right now, that are trying to get out. It's not considered. It's not even kind of spoken about. And the programming is still very much tied into those people are trying to kill us and all the rest of it, without actually understanding that there's a much bigger ancient game going on. And do I see elements of a Eastern European bloc beginning to move into the Levant that is spoken about in Revelations, and also Edgar Casey has spoken about as well? Because what a lot of folks aren't taking into consideration is, once this US empire thing, whatever that Berlin Wall moment is, that means NATO falls apart as well. So the shit show that is going on in the West that we see with all of this nonsense, it's going to be very present in everyone's reality of trying to figure things out. We're going to have conversations. We're going to be able to have to listen. And there are some folks out there that know what the fuck they're talking about, but they're sitting back at the moment because they don't want to get caught up in the nonsense of it all. I know two individuals, and I've tried again today. Like, let me do a podcast. I'll even fucking scramble it or something like that, and wear the hits upon people think that I'm talking to myself. And his words were, it's not that people aren't ready for it, is that the level of programming that has happened is that it's very difficult to go from one formation of taking on new information and forming a new truth, to then having to combat a lot of that truth being almost part of it planted, and the misinformation and other components with it, and it gets agitated. And I suppose I've experienced a little bit of this over the years, not too much, but you brought up a very good example. And I'll use that example. I'll use myself. Okay. Is that I'm going to use Jack's interview as well. See, Jack, as a neurosurgeon, I forget the actual word that he used, but I think it was diagnostics. Okay. So his skill as a neurosurgeon, brain surgeon, his skill is in diagnostics. So he has developed over a period of time a certain mind to be able to articulate and even form a frame upon how he actually perceives reality, but also knows how to think with two or three different things at the same time, and actually make them work, and on the run as well. Imagine doing a surgery and you got to make things work, which he speaks about. Okay, my background has been in operations management, project management, and let's say executive consulting. Okay. So with operations management, I've ran pretty big operations, that have been 24/7, a whole range of different stuff. So I learned a skill that, even though the best plans you can have in place, there's always a fucking pineapple that is going to be stuck in your ass that you're going to have to figure out. And sometimes some of the calls that you make are going to piss people off, and you don't have time to explain why you've made that decision, because they're not actually aware of other parts of the operation. And then there you need to have, depending upon who you have in your team, you actually have certain operators, so to speak, that are very good in certain situations, and you have others that aren't. And even within project management, yeah, like to make something, let's say very big, even let's say a massive apartment building, okay, that has like 20 apartments a part of it. That just doesn't start with a builder there building it. There's a huge process that begins from it being an idea, the conversations, all the rest of it, the project management, the planning, the hire. Like it's actually very big. Um, so the way that I have had life experience is that's the way that I would see information and how what I decide to do with it. And I suppose I've utilized the world and getting to know the real world. I've utilized that skill that's enabled me to, let's say, open up doors that are closed and have conversations with some of those that have been behind those doors, and vice versa with even some of my own experiences. But the reason why I bring that up is because obviously you have some skills and many others have skills. And I'm not saying this as I just discern, but really stop for a moment, and when somebody is talking, what is their background? Okay. Because once you understand their frame, you're going to be able to go, okay, they have a unique perspective. And they're going to be really good at this. But some other things, yeah, there's going to be some personal narratives there and all the rest of those components. It's going to be able to help you out with taking on certain data points. And I'm going to use Cliff High for this because I love Uncle Cliff, but one thing with Uncle Cliff is that he's a paranoid schizophrenic. I'm not sure if any of you guys know or been involved with someone who has paranoid schizophrenia. Is they have a very unique mind. Like, whoa, okay. But one thing that I have found with paranoid schizophrenic, the way that they can churn through information and data and like because they have that paranoia about it, they're able to like run through something like 100 different circumstances. And then rather than spitting it all out, which what a lot of them do that haven't developed themselves, they're able to do that, come up with the best thing and be able to execute. That is why a lot of the best programmers and a lot of these, let's say, bankers that are more into fucking physics, because that's what banking is now, they're on that spectrum of psychopathy or paranoid schizophrenia because of the way that their mind works, the way that they're able to. But there's also another side to that, which is fine. But if you understand where their frame and their experiences and how they've developed themselves, well, you're able to go, okay, here this is in this packet, rather than, oh, I need it to look and be a particular way, or let's play these shadow games of, oh, they need to do this. They need to do their shadow work. They need to do this and da 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 da. Why do they need to do that if they've actually gone about it and understood their frame, gone about it the way that they perceive reality, and are able to actually articulate things? Not everything is about us, is it? And the reason why I bring that up is because we have been living in a gynocentric social order that has been weaponized to more of an emotional degree, and even logical I don't use that, but rational fallacies get thrown around a lot, particularly with a lot of the meme wars, which is fine. I'm a live and let live guy. The reason why I bring that up, and here's another example. So you would have heard a lot about, particularly over the last 4 years, the transhumanist agenda. Okay. You would have heard a lot about it. But how many, I can't even count how many blogs or things or whatever that I've actually listened to that somebody is speaking about it from a place of authority that isn't speaking about the big things. What are those big things? What's actually really going on with Silicon Valley? And for those that have been listening to me for a while, I have been silently educating you, haven't I, about all of that, but about all of this, what's actually going on, DARPA, Meta, what's actually going on there, and the technology that they're actually using. No one wants to speak about that. And if someone does, let's no, let's not add that to the conversation, because I've formulated an opinion and now I'm actually speaking about it from a place of authority. And any new information that actually comes in, I'm not going to take it on, because therefore the authority that I've actually put myself on and formulated information purely from a lens of reading some shit, repeating it and thinking it sounds good, and then regurgitating it out there. Well, yeah, I'm not going to take the hits of having to step back or even add new information. And here we are at this time where you're going to have more. Yeah, Kerry, spot on. You know, you got someone like Uncle Jack that's just come out and just gone bang, laid it out to you. There's a lot more layers to it. And it's very easy to generalize and just speak about the whole woo component of it. Reptilians, it's fucking whatever else like that. That's great. That's a very real thing. But until we actually deal what's here, tangible, right in front of our eyes, if actually what we're dealing with in the now, all of that stuff is, what are you going to do about that? Well, sit there in a cave and meditate the rest of your life away. Well, yeah, there's elements to that that would be great, but here we are at this time moving into 2025, where it's all about the individual choice point upon what you actually choose, and repeat those choices and actually build momentum from your own constitution and your own authority in your own integrity. Can your mind, tongue, and heart, let's say lower kingdom as well, speak in a unification of the temple that you actually reside in, which is this here, the temple of Hu, the human body? Or are you going to get caught up in it's this, it's that? Like, one thing that I suppose frustrated the fuck out of me a year or two ago, and it was a little bit of a lesson, is that I made mention to this. Agenda 21 and Agenda 30. So many people are experts on it. Whenever I ask them, have you actually read the documents? Oh, no. Then how the fuck do you know? Oh, I heard it from this person, or I read this. Okay, but have you fucking read the stuff? Do you understand the language that has been written in? Do you know what certain things actually mean? They don't. Okay, that's great. I get that. But reason why I'm saying, and getting back to, let's say, the social contracts breaking apart, how much of your power have you given away, or your authority you have given away, by not paying attention to the small details, and maybe allocating maybe an hour a day or something like that, or listen to some people that you actually trust that read this shit to be able to articulate it to you, rather than jumping on the latest truth for trend or fucking the astrology of things of, oh, you know what, the next 20 years it's going to be all about technology and, all of that language. Great, I understand it. But what fucking good is that when there's a technological, what is it, the fourth industrial revolution going on right now, that is about to come front and center, as well as a whole other game in town, and it's going to be up to the individual choices. Have attempted as well, even speaking about AI, because I've spent a lot of time with that too. Yeah, not just like Chat GTP and all the rest of it, but more from a space of open source. Yeah, do we want to actually get into an open source environment? Do you want to really get into decentralized? Because if it is that, well, that's a whole other game. And it's not easy to make those mental gymnastics and those maneuvers into another environment. Like, I'll just share this, okay? Because you're going to see it happen. Like, you've got Trump speaking about it right now. Yeah, where he's talking about all of the tariff situation within the US. I spoke about this in 2020. Yeah. Some others did a little bit earlier, but it's the way it's going to go. It's going to happen here as well. But for that transition to actually take place, is that we're going to have to go through what would I'm not sure the language of it, but let's think of it as a devolution component. And that devolution component is all, let's say, the nefarious technology and everything that we've been building since the 1970s that we're going to have to go backwards and actually get our shit together. And are things actually going to be made in country and actually build that back up? And what type of labor force are we actually going to create? What type of social contracts are we actually going to create? Is there going to be a re-education side of things? Are we going to boot out BHP and Rio and all the rest of this stuff, or turn them into public utility companies? These are very big conversations, yeah, that aren't going to just click a finger and, oh yeah, it's all fucking new Earth 5D and hamada hamada. Like, there's some really serious times ahead. And the reason why I'm being, I suppose, a little bit more serious tonight is that I'm changing a trajectory at the moment as well with Magus and some other things. But as I suppose as a bit of a send off, it is an exciting time. There is going to be some growing pains, but the main component is getting your head in the game, because there are a lot of mental gymnastics to actually get over. Like, I do like Andrew Tate. I think he has a lot of great things to say. And there's some things there that I'm just like, righto, bro. But this whole thing of exit the matrix, okay, great. But what type of exit the matrix are you talking about? Because there's many different layers to it. Yeah, where one can be a so-called matrix expert. Okay, what type of matrix are you talking about? If you were still participating in the Babylonian talisman system at all, you're still playing in the Matrix games to a degree. And to watch so many people think that, oh, it's just about not being a wage slave anymore. Well, okay, you're not a wage slave, but here you are creating a drop shipping company or some other shit that's being built by slave labor over in fucking China. And here you are making a quick buck and thinking that it's all rock and roll. And here I am in Bali with fucking high vibes and all the rest of the other nonsense that you carry on about. But the actual fundamental cause of the choices that you made is actually to do with the very thing that you fucking oppose. That's what I'm talking about with this Babylonian talisman. And these are the mental gymnastics that we don't want to come to terms with. This is the bullshit that we don't want to chew into of our own. We want to kind of glorify it with whatever else and define other meanings to it. So here are these choices. Yeah. Are you going to miss out on a few things? But to have your integrity intact and not actually have to go through the choice point, because what was once is no more, and all that is held in shadow will be revealed. And I'm not just meaning shadow from a Jungian perspective in relation to shadow work, but I am speaking more so about what is on the invisible chessboard and on the, let's say, the back side of it is really coming forward. It's massive. And if you know about money, um, where did that system of usufruct really begin? I just gave you a key piece with the Babylonian talisman. Where's the heating up period going on at the moment? And I suppose you've all really heard about the Khazarian Mafia and what they're actually really all about. It's a whole other ancient battle game going on. But I'm going to show you something now. I don't want to say I've been excited for this, but part of it's a funny. I'm finding it a little bit difficult at the moment, because one part of it I'm excited, but there's another component as well. Is that there's very real victims, very very real. Um, I suppose over the years I've helped a few of them. I won't say any more than that, particularly in Oz and some other components, but there's a re-traumatization that's going to go on. There's a whole range of different stuff. And then, you're going to have the grifters that jump on board with it as well, but that's just how it is. But anyways, I'm going to show you this, and it does have to do with the P. Diddy situation. I was very disappointed a couple of weeks ago when that broke, that the trending truthers just straight away that, oh, this is just a nothing burger, it's a this, it's a that, without actually understanding how big these things are. If you've been paying attention, like Epstein is an agent running an operation. His kind of handler, let's say Lex Wennerman from Victoria's Secret. Now, who's Diddy's handler? Clive Davis. You know, you've also got cats like Jimmy Iovine, and I'm a hip hop person, yeah. And you know, you've had folks over the past like DMX, Prodigy from Mobb Deep. I just posted on Facebook like a week or two ago. You know, you got legends like Chuck D and so many others that have been speaking about what's actually going on with these contracts. Look at Prince when Prince came out and spoke about what's going on with these contracts and so forth. But what I'm about to share with you is that this whole Diddy thing is a reemergence of what took place just before the 2016 election and what gained a lot of attention in 2020, with a lot of the underground stuff, a lot of the little people stuff, which is very real, by the way. It's being glamorized on a whole range of other folks, but you know, this is what I mean. Do you actually really want, or do we, do we really want somebody to come out that has been a part of that stuff to come out and be able to tell their story? If the answer to that is yes, you're going to have to accept the fact that there's been some other shit go on. Now, are we prepared to actually listen? Yeah, because the highest court in the world right now is not The Hague. It is not anything other than the court of public opinion. And how you react to things is actually being watched and determined to see what certain things are going to come out. Now I'm going to show you this, and this is really important. And once again, I mention him a lot for a reason, because Uncle Jack's dropping the hammer. And if I'm a betting man, I think he's giving a signal to quite a lot of others that, you know what, it's time now. So here we go. This has to do with the Diddy stuff, okay?
Believing that I may start naming names. Well, that day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you. These are individual cases. There are indeed other perpetrators involved. They will be revealed when that particular individual case is ready to be filed. They already know who they are. And I'm talking here about not just the cowardly but complicit bystanders. That is, those people that we know watched this behavior occur and did nothing. And I'm talking about the people that participated, encouraged it, egged it on. They know who they are. I call them the facilitators of foul play, willing participants in vile conduct. As we identify them, each will be part of this case as defendants. These defendants will not only include individuals, but would also include corporate entities who ultimately profited off of this culture and behavior. I'm looking at banks, pharmaceutical companies, hotels. We know that many of these individuals were paid cash. We know that many of these individuals involved, whether they were the ones being assaulted and abused, or they're witnessing other people being assaulted and abused and then paid and threatened and told to leave. Typically paid 10 grand in cash and told to leave. And then threatened as they were leaving. So in addition to Sean Combs, you should know the defendants in these cases we're going to file will include anyone, of course, who engaged in the assault or exploitation, anyone who participated in such in any way, anyone who encouraged or facilitated this conduct, anyone who was in the room and watched it happen but made no effort to stop it, any venue or venue owner who was aware of what was going on but failed to stop it, any individual or entity who knew about the conduct and benefited from it but did nothing to report it or stop it, and any individual or entity who covered it up or helped cover it up. These people who know who they are should just come forward now. I would imagine, as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their text and data. Now, although these are, in fact, individual cases, there is a common theme, an MO, if you will. Typically, the victim is lured into a situation where he or she is given a drink. Typically, that drink, reported by these victims, is apparently laced with something. Once that drink takes effect, the perpetrators perform all kinds of sexual acts on the victims, many times passing him or her around as other people watch and enjoy the show, and then leave the victim ashamed, confused, injured, and wondering what happened. When the victim reaches out, he or she is told not to say anything. Sometimes there are threats of physical violence or financial repercussions or bodily harm. The claims we intend to bring will include the following: violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, false imprisonment, sexual abuse of minors. Given the large volume of cases and given our other docket obligations, and given the fact that we want to be sure when we file these cases that they are fully vetted, I expect we'll start filing these cases against Sean Combs and other perpetrators within the next 30 days.
So there we have it, legends. That isn't even really the start. Now, Jag, you were right. Just done a chat on Piers Morgan. If you go have a listen to that. And then I wrote it down. Her name's Sarah Carter. No relation to Sean Carter. But she has quite the story. And there's many others like her that are, they're being re-traumatized and stuff like that at the moment, and they're doing it tough, but they've got quite the story to tell in relation to some of the kid stuff and some of the other funny business that seems to be a silent truth. Are you ready for the real world? And yeah, a lot of people are going to be pissed. I get that, but I got my head bitten off a couple of years ago when I said this, and this is probably something that I'll leave you guys with. Yeah, is that this isn't a new thing. This has been a part of our world for a long period of time. And how it stops will be the choices that we make. And that type of just us is, there's things that will go on in another form for a lot of those people, and the soul contracts that they've made and go on. But from the court of public opinion, can we have the maturity to sit there and hear it fucking all and get off our asses and stop handing away our authority to be entertained, to be hypnotized, to be controlled, and all the rest of the other things? Because we can very easily say they. Yeah, cool. But in the real world, yeah, they can't do anything unless you and I accept it. And have we been set up to fail from the beginning? Absolutely. But in a new resonant tone and new octaves being available, is this going to be a point in humanity's story that we accept this game and we go off into a new domain of knowing? Or are we going to sit there and want justice? Because if we want justice, well, guess what we're going to do? We're going to end up in their just us system again. And I'll leave you guys with that one. And I suppose I will speak about myself as a finishing point. I suppose this is a sign off for Facebook, really. I'll do some little posts here and there or whatnot, but these types of long form stuff, you know, I think I've run my race, really. Go check me out on Instagram if you want some, you know, content and those types of things for you to go and listen to, like Uncle Jack. And, you know, I post mainly a lot of other stuff that I get into over there on Telegram. On Twitter, I'll be making some moves on that over the next little period of time. Because for me personally, the markers have been there for a while, but the significant markers have been, let's say, over the last 2 months. I'm glad that I gave myself the patience to actually sit there and wait for that, rather than pulling the trigger and making moves out of a fear template, somewhat scarcity, particularly around this type of stuff. Yeah. But the value system changing, okay, and also from an economy standpoint, well, I've said enough on that. But we've been in a information, attention, and eyeballs economy for a long period of time. You can almost say even a creator economy. Like, just have a look at these platforms now. You know, people will build an audience just sharing what they read, what they think's trending, and actually put it out. Utilize AI as well and all the rest of it. That's all cool. Yeah, live and let live. But how much of it is actually of real depth and meaning and knowledge to actually action and it being a part of a new domain of knowing? Or is it still about controlling a personal narrative to get people into a grift that maybe that way of going about things is outdated? The opportunity for the exploration of new psychotechnologies, deprogramming, and playing a new game fascinates the fuck out of me. Not sure about you, but here are these choices. And is there going to be a little bit of sacrifice? Absolutely, there is. You know, everything that we give our energy to is a part of these social contracts, whether we like it or not. And spending the time to know what is really your game rather than monkey see, monkey do, and playing in trends and viral content and all the rest of that, which is fine. You can choose that. But, you know, a new economy opening up with, you know, meaning, knowledge, I can almost say wisdom, but actually actioning in that trajectory. Because if you are caught up in the information, attention, and let's say creator economy, how much of it has already been said? Are you adding anything new to it? Or is it, oh yeah, they got this many likes for that, so I'm just gonna now listen to a 30-minute thing and then talk about it as if I'm some type of expert on it. It's why there's a whole, like, particularly with, on Instagram, with the whole narcissism fucking space. There's so many folks that have no real comprehension of what any of that stuff is. They have someone disagrees with them and they think it's narcissism, and then they'll go on there and, hate to say this, sisters, but it's very easy to get a little bit of cleavage and some makeup and speak about something and get the likes, which is fine. Same as a lot of the dudes with the things, which is fine. But how much is actually of and truth, meaning, knowledge? That's the game I'm going to play. And I suppose with Magus, you guys, gentlemen in particular, you will see some stuff over the next couple of weeks. If you like the way that I go about things, give us a buzz. I won't be doing a massive marketing campaign with it. I'll be putting it out there and let it do its own thing. And for the Portal Legends, we're going to be busy over the next little period of time. We'll do our call next week or whatnot like that there. I have essentially closed that off for the public, but if you guys that are listening to you are interested in having those types of conversations similar to like what we've had tonight, that will be the space for that. But particularly with the trajectory that I am moving, has a lot to do with meaning, knowledge, some of the deprogramming. And I can say more to the point of, building a solid foundation, a frame that is yours, being able to rest in your center, having the eyes and the courage to see things as they truly are in the present moment and not have to continually play around in these nonsense games that are out there in the personal development and even spiritual development world. Like, if you can come to terms with your personal history now in this ever-present moment and understand and understand that it is all really around choices and being consistent with the next step upon how you're actually going about it, knowing your own cycles, coming into a true depth of a mystical element of the mystery teachings of that word of know thyself, rather than it being some type of marketing campaign, like, I won't even get into that, but initiation and rites of passage words just get thrown out there as if there's some type of marketing type of thing. But if you were to ask somebody that is running some type of initiation or weekend journey of what you're actually initiating people into and what they've actually been initiated into, they can't give you a straight answer. It's some things that they've actually slapped together that, might have some benefits for some folks, but under the surface, it's just glorified life coaching that have no emphasis upon actual the psychotechnologies or the psychology that is actually, really now. Like, I know folks out there that don't read the social studies or any of the stuff. Yeah, I have a subscription on academia. I read that shit. A lot of folks out there don't, or come up with their own opinion about it, which, can be great and all the rest of it. But it's very easy to be sitting behind a screen and just making up assumptions without actually reading the clinical data about it, or where the actual experts are and what they're actually going on about, rather than, oh, I've spoken to 10 people and this is actually the experience for the whole collective. Really? And when you get challenged on that bullshit, oh, that's just projection and that's just your shadow. You're just being a fuckwit. That's what it is. That's what it is. So bit of fire in the belly now that I've finished projects. I'm interested in playing a little bit of fuck around and find out. So it should be interesting. But Legends, it's been a hoot with these types of conversations. I've enjoyed it. Know the game, play to win. Yeah. And lastly, from a discerning game, ask the question when people are speaking, do they know what they are talking about? How do they know what they're talking about? Do they have any real life experience about it? Have they had conversations with people that have subject matter expertise? Are they actually able to frame it and build out the conversation? Can they speak for 4 or 5 hours and add different components to it and, you know, make it educational? Or is it my way or the highway? It's important. It really, really is. You might start to hear a little bit more about the egg test as well. If you don't know about that, it's funny. I'll tell you. The egg test is I boil an egg and see if it fits into your backside. And if it doesn't fit into your backside yet, you need to go and do some more backside work. That's a part of Diddy's game. Suge Knight spoke about that about 10 years ago. 50 Cent has spoken about that as well. So, fascinating times. Choose what game you're playing, Legends. And give yourself the opportunity to come into your own in your own time and not put pressure on yourself. Know what you actually need to be present now. Because there's a lot of shit that we go and invest our time and energy into that we don't actually need. So, peace out. Catch you guys soon. I do hope to see you over there on Twitter and Instagram. I don't know what's going to happen with Facebook. I've just had the whole heap of videos disappear. Wonder why. Speak about the mechanics of things. No dice. Speak about the fluff. Thumbs up. DAPA. Catch you later, Legends. Ciao.